Hello there, it's Sandy from We Are Talk of Thailand, and today I want to talk about cowboys. And I don't mean cowboys and Indians like we see in the movies. I mean cowboys that are happy to provide low quality services for as much money as possible. And when I was in UK, you used to hear a lot about cowboy builders and plumbers and people like that. That would rip people off quite easily. Also, when Spain became very popular for timeshares, there was lots of stories came out from Spain about people building houses for timeshare and for people who wanted to live in Spain, and they turned out to be absolute cowboys with virtually no experience at all. Well, here in Thailand, I don't think that changes either. It amazes me actually that when I see adverts for buildings and houses, etc., built by expats. What does that mean? Just what does that mean? Does that mean Thai people can't build houses? Actually, my experience, and I have several incidences here, of where the expats, when they say built by expats, it would be something, beware of what's happening here, because this might not be quite what you expect, and the standards might not be as good as what you would want. So that's the story, and if you want to find out more, just keep watching and I'll tell you all. Thank you. So my first experience of cowboy builders here in Thailand was a guy I knew from UK who I had business dealings with in UK actually, but he was a real cowboy in many aspects. He came from a gypsy background actually in the UK, which was quite evident. And the only thing I'll say for him was he did have a good business mind actually. He could make money at virtually anything. He used to go and sit outside the market with a chair and a gun to put studs in girls' ears, and on a Sunday, and he'd make quite a few bob at that. Things like that. He did start several businesses in UK, and he did make money. That's for sure. But he used to come to Thailand regularly, and he married a Thai lady eventually, and he had a daughter with her too. And when he was about 40 years old actually, he gave up everything in the UK, most of his interests, and then he came out to live in Hua Hin in Thailand, and he bought a house there, which I was fortunate enough to be invited to visit a couple of times. Yeah, don't get me wrong, this guy was a very cheerful, nice guy actually. I got along with him quite well, but his business ethics left a lot to be desired, that's all I'd say. Now, he bought this house in Hua Hin, and then with the money he had and with getting a business partner, he bought a big plot of land in Hua Hin, and then he started building houses on it. And this guy had no experience whatsoever of building houses. And when I went to visit him, the first time I went to visit him in Hua Hin, he had built about 3 houses already, and already he was having troubles in that the swimming pools. He was selling these houses, these bungalows with swimming pools, and the first 2 he built, the swimming pools were leaking, the foundations, and he'd done something wrong in the foundations, and it was a major job to fix them. He also had problems with water and water extraction, in that the water table that he'd hoped was under the houses wasn't there, and therefore he had to go and find a water table that was there and then pump it in. And actually, in fact, I had to give him a hand with that, because we had to get some deep well pumps, and he didn't really know how to wire them up or control them. So on one of my visits, I sorted that out for him. But he was building houses, and he really didn't have a clue. And I had over the years, I had several complaints about people that bought these houses that really they weren't up to standard for the same reasons that I see many places actually. You know, there's some very important aspects when you buy a house here in Thailand. for instance, you know, you've got to take into consideration the weather. We get a lot of sun here in Thailand, and it's got to be considered when you're putting in the glazing, etc. If you don't put in good glazing, and I mean by good glazing I mean double glazed and heat reflective, then all you're doing by putting ordinary glazing in is you're making the house that you've built into an oven, and unbearably hot most of the time, as I've experienced, and I'll tell you about that in another video. But anyway, this guy in Hua Hin, actually, he was his own teacher, and he did take the points on board where he was failing, and he listened to the complaints, and he had a good businessman, because somebody buying a house, they were virtually obligated to take a garden maintenance contract with him, and if they were just coming out to Thailand occasionally, then he'd do house maintenance. So he was making money in all aspects from the house he sold. And I think on his original development, he eventually ended up building about 35, 36 houses, something in at that order, and he ended up a millionaire through a fortuitous start and taking a risk and setting off on a venture that he knew very little about. But in the end, I think he improved, and he was very good that he made friends with good builders, and he mixed with them, and he got advice from them, and he implemented the advice he was getting, and he tried to get his own personal standards up to other people's standards. So good for him on that side. But what I'm just saying is, if you see a house for sale, or a condo for sale, or a car for sale, if they say owned by an expat, or built by an expat, or managed by an expat, just think for a minute, that might not all be what you're wanting, and that might not really indicate the quality of what you're getting. When they say cars for sale owned by an expat, I've seen some crazy expat driving here, and I wouldn't want to take their cars off them after they've had them a couple of years, that's for sure. And the symbol expat owned or expat built, to me, doesn't mean anything. It's something to beware of. So that's the video, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Take care for now, and hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.